There was once a girl who wanted to be a horse. When she pretended she was a horse, she felt strong and beautiful. She could gallop on her hands and knees. She could even whinny. When she wasn't being a horse, she was drawing them, which was the next best thing. The only problem with being a horse was her schoolmates thought she was weird. They laughed and made fun of her. This made her feel small and clumsy. But one day a girl that had made fun of her walked by when she was drawing horses in her notebook. She looked at the drawing and said, "That's pretty." After that, the girl drew horses all the time. She decided if she couldn't be a horse, she would be an artist. One day, the girl went to visit a friend who had horses. The girl was very excited because she didn't get to be with real horses very often. She skipped happily down the hill to the barn. She pulled open the heavy sliding door. The inside smelled like sweet hay, warm dust, and the wonderful scent of horses. In the shadows she could feel their presence. She could hear them shuffling and snorting. She approached the stall doors. One horse's name was Hala, and the other horse's name was Dava. The horses stood napping with their heads down. She wanted to draw them, but she didn't want to intrude. Then her friend offered to let the horses out to play in the arena. She ran back outside just in time to see the horses burst out of their stalls into the fenced arena. They explored the arena, snorting and pawing. Then they started to gallop and play. The horses were so beautiful, she scrambled to get her sketch pad ready, but they were moving too fast. Just as she started to get one ear on her paper, the horses would whiz by her or change direction. A scribbled page later, she grew so frustrated she threw down her sketch pad. She folded her arms and began to feel small and clumsy again. After a moment, she noticed that the playfulness of the horses contrasted with how she was feeling. Hala ran by with his tail up in the air. Dava snorted and tossed her head. The girl watched them and took a deep breath. She closed her eyes and imagined she was running with the horses. She felt the power of 4 legs and a tail that waved behind her like a flag. The wind whistled through her mane, and she breathed deeply through a long horse nose. She opened her eyes, picked up her sketch pad, and began to draw these feelings on the paper. The lines seemed to have a life of their own, and like magic, the shapes of the horses started to appear. After a while, the horses slowed down and started eating. She looked down at her sketch pad and realized that something very special had happened. These drawings were different than any she had ever done before. The simple lines curved and overlapped, making the horses look like they were still moving. Excited, she ran to find the friend to show her the drawings. Her friend looked at them intently. After a long moment, she said thoughtfully, "These are very good. Is this one Hala?" she asked. "Yes," the girl replied, "but how can you tell? It's just a few lines." "It feels like him," replied the friend, smiling. The friend smiled a secret smile and said, "You might want to explore the barn while you're here. There are many secret places in there." The girl entered the now quiet barn. There was a shaft of light coming down the ladder from the hayloft above. She climbed the ladder and lay down on a warm bale of hay. The loft was quiet and still, as if the outside world could never intrude on this private place. She watched the dust motes dance like fairies in the slanting light. Before long, the warmth of the loft and the sweet smell of the hay lulled her to sleep. She began to dream. She dreamt she was in a purple cloud. Then the mist before her parted, and a beautiful white winged horse appeared. The horse stopped in front of her, lifted its head, and spoke. "I am the messenger," the horse said in a voice that was both soft and powerful. Somehow the girl wasn't surprised this horse could speak. Hello," she stammered. "I mean, it's an honor to meet you." The horse lowered its head and looked deeply into the girl's eyes. "You have just taken the first step on a path toward your dream of becoming an artist." "Oh, thank you. I do want to be an artist," the girl said with enthusiasm. If horses could smile, then the messenger did. It said, "You have the gift of seeing the secret beauty of horses. With your human hands, you can draw them so others will see them as you do. If you ever doubt yourself, just remember what it was like to be a horse, and you will be able to touch the strength and beauty within you. Believe in yourself and in the magical power of horses." Then the messenger nudged the girl softly with its nose and disappeared as quietly as it had come. When the girl awakened, the loft was darker. The sun had moved lower. She stretched and sat up. Suddenly she remembered her dream. She smiled, because now she understood why she always drew horses. She knew she wanted to be an artist, so she could show people how strong and beautiful horses were. She realized that she didn't need to be a horse because she carried the spirits of horses within her. Hi, my name is Kim McElroy. I'm so glad you've joined me for my class, and I'm excited to offer you a new way of looking at horses, a new way of feeling and being with horses. The imagery and story that you just saw is a true story and is what happened to me when I began to realize how to apply my feelings to my drawings, and horses were what inspired that. That experience is what truly changed my life and taught me how to feel the energy and the emotion of horses and how to draw that. And that was such an epiphany for me that I wanted to share that with you as well. I call this class Level 1 because we're all beginners when we start a new creative project. And I want you to put yourself in the position of being a beginner, whether you're a professional artist or you're just starting to draw. For those of you who don't consider yourself an artist, I'd like you to consider about the time when you might have stopped drawing. It was probably at some point when someone either criticized your drawings or you criticized your own drawings because you couldn't draw the way you wanted to. So I want you to go back in time to when you were a child and you drew with crayons. And we're just going to play today. So be of light heart and don't worry about it. So just remember, it's okay to color outside the lines. In fact, I'm going to ask you to do just that. What I would suggest in watching this DVD is to watch it all the way through the first time, and then we'll go back and do the exercises. So let's get to it. When I first started taking art lessons as a child, the first thing the teacher did was to set up a still life for me to draw, like this one. I can't think of anything less inspiring to draw than apples and bananas. But that was the way that art was taught, and still is. Apparently, the philosophy is that if you can draw circles and round objects and shading and highlights, then you could draw something that looks real. But I think there's more to the equation than that. The first time I taught a How to Draw Horses class was about 15 years ago. And by the end of the first day, the students were all saying, "When are we going to learn to draw horses?" I realized that these artists wanted to draw horses like they wanted to learn to draw apples and oranges. What I teach is about inspiration and feeling. The skill of learning to draw is something you can learn along the way. There are a few essential qualities that will help you benefit from this class. First is a love of horses. Second is a sense of play and exploration. And third is a willingness to be a student and to not know what's going to happen next and to improvise. And last but not least, an open mind. I know that most of you want to learn to draw horses, and you have expectations of what you want to achieve. For now, though, I want you to know that every mark you make on paper can be magical, and there is no right or wrong. Remember the story I told in the beginning and what my drawings looked like before I began to feel what it was to be like the horse. I want you to know that I am an artist that's been doing this all my life, and I've perfected my lines like a musician hitting perfect notes. This is not what you're expected to achieve in this DVD. Just let yourself go and play. I know by the end of this DVD, you will have drawn things that you never thought you could draw before. Most how-to classes or books on drawing horses are taught using how to draw circles and squares and lines to connect and drawing a horse. Other ways of learning to draw horses are by studying horse anatomy, perspective, and proportions. Those are skills you can learn along the way with many tools that are available. What I'm going to teach you is more elusive. What we're going to explore today is drawing feelings and emotions, and the horse can teach us how to do that. I teach more how to take what you feel and put it on paper, because the way I learned to do my best art was to create a feeling rather than what I was seeing. This is an example of a drawing that was done from pure feeling, drawing to music, and drawing from a place within me. Horses are excellent teachers of how to create art because they express their emotions and feelings through their body language. The language of horses is a nonverbal language, and the more you draw horses, the more you can get in tune with being nonverbal and being intuitive with your art. A friend once said something very profound to me. She said, "You don't just paint horses, you paint your enthusiasm for life in the form of horses." Drawing circles and squares and anatomy and proportion are based on the scientific view that the animal is merely the dimension and composition of their body. But there is more to life than that. The earliest artists instinctively knew this. They revered the creatures in their world and sought to capture them on the walls of their caves. We may not know the reasons they were motivated to draw them, but these drawings have an entirely different feeling about them. I discovered if you put down the superficial shape first, based only on the anatomy, unless you become your subject in your own body, you can never get the energy into it. It is better to start learning how to feel and draw energy and then get the details in the form. How to create the form will come in time, and then your drawing will come alive. Here's a film of my friend Carolyn Resnick dancing with a horse named Panadero. This dance between them illustrates their life and energy interacting. Humans and horses and all beings on this earth are composed of energy which animates their structure. The word animate means to give life to fill with life, to fill with spirit, courage, or resolution, to impart motion or activity to, and to make, design, or produce a drawing so as to create the illusion of motion. The word draw means to cause to flow forth, to cause to come toward by attracting, or to make a likeness on a surface using mostly lines. So being drawn to something means being attracted to it. The more drawn to something you feel, the more you want to know about it, and the better you can draw it. This exercise is called drawing to music. As a child, I struggled to learn to read music, as it was such a left-brained method of learning to play. And so I began to think that I could invent a new way of writing music by using flowing lines instead of notes on a scale. When I was 16, I was traveling with my mom, and we went into this beautiful store that had fairies and artwork and wonderful music. And I bought some New Age music that I'd never heard before. And I went back to the hotel and I put my earphones on and I started to paint. And it was so much fun. I just really was able to paint without any thought or any idea of what I was going to paint, and this wonderful thing emerged. And I was so excited about it, I went back to the store and I showed the lady my drawing and I said, "Thank you so much for selling me this music." And she was so excited about my drawing that she offered to carry my work in her store. So that was really exciting for me, and that was all inspired by music. When I began teaching people how to create art with flow and creativity, this idea of music came back to me. So I'm just going to give you a little demonstration of what that's like. So for drawing to music, you'll need 5 sheets of paper and a box of chalk pastels and a stereo with 5 pieces of your favorite music, from a selection from melodic to dramatic, so that you have a range to draw from. You can put your paper on an easel or you can put it on a table. Either way is fine. So let me show you what you can do with pastel before we start drawing to music. So pastel it's fairly hard, and you can draw lines, and you can draw broad strokes. You can do different colors. And you can use your hands to blend it. You can put more down and really blend it. Or you can just draw lines like that. It's also helpful to wipe your hands in between colors, as your hands are collecting every color that you draw with. So it makes it easier to wipe your hands so that you're not blending the colors together if you don't choose to. Don't worry about erasing. If you don't like what you've drawn, just take another sheet of paper and start over again and begin the music again. Also, be bold and fluid. If you're hesitating making a mark, it'll be erratic and it won't have a flow to it. So push the chalk into the paper and really let it be fluid. Think of it more as painting than drawing. And if you do it that way, then your marks can convey the way you're feeling. I close my eyes and listen to the music. I imagine I become the music. I am flowing with the music, and the flow starts to move inside of me. I can feel what that flow would look like if I drew it onto paper. When I get a clear impression of what strokes or shapes or lines convey that feeling, I open my eyes and choose a pastel color, and I allow the flow to move down my drawing arm and hand and onto my paper. Here are a couple of students that offered to be with us today. This is Davina and Elke, and they're going to be drawing to music as well as some of the other exercises. One of them is an experienced artist and one of them is a beginner, and I'm not going to tell you which is which. So let's get started. Close your eyes and listen to the music. Imagine yourself becoming the music. You are flowing with the music and the flow starts to move inside of you. You can feel what that flow would look like if you drew it onto paper. When you get an impression of what strokes or shapes or lines convey that feeling, open your eyes and choose a pastel color and allow the flow to move down your drawing arm and hand onto your paper. Okay, so Elke, what was that like for you?
It was fun. It was really good. I've really enjoyed that.
Wonderful. I loved watching you do it. You looked like you didn't want to stop.
No, I actually didn't want to stop. I got carried away and I got really into the colors. It was nice.
I'm so glad. How about you, Davina?
No, it was fabulous. I just felt like I was dancing and having a great time.
Well, that's great.
Only on paper with pastel.
Wonderful. Great. And that brings up actually a good point, which is if you feel like continuing, just let it flow with the music. You don't have to just do a quick sketch. Just keep going as long as you feel like you are in the flow. So now we're going to play at drawing emotions. I realized over time that I wasn't just drawing horses, I was drawing feelings. And sometimes I would actually draw horses to express what I needed to express or to get out of my own heart and soul. So we're going to take what you've learned about drawing to music and apply that to drawing emotions, feelings, adjectives, descriptive phrases. We're actually going to use the words and pick a word like joy, for instance, and draw to that. So let's do that together. Look at the list of feelings or adjective and pick a feeling or adjective that you'd like to draw. Then close your eyes. Feel that feeling in your body. In your imagination, dance to describe that feeling. What does the movement feel like? Is it abrupt or flowing? Is it dramatic or soft? Now take that movement feeling and move it into your drawing, arm, hand, and wrist. Feel what that feels like. Now open your eyes and look at your pastels. Ask yourself which colors make you feel that feeling. Pick up a color and let the dance in your mind go through your arm and hand and flow onto the paper. Let go of your critical thinking mind and just flow with the feeling. Do this for each of the emotions or adjectives. One of the concepts I'd like to illustrate is the language of line. When I draw, I become the conduit for the feeling that I'm expressing at that moment. I feel the feeling, get the feeling in my body of how I could define that feeling in a line, and then I create the line. It doesn't come from my head, or even what you'd call the imagination, but from my core. I hold the awareness of how to express the feeling, but I don't get lost in it because I'm also feeling how to draw it. Once I start to put a mark on the paper, it often evolves and changes, almost like a dialogue. I am asking a question, then drawing the answer, and as I draw it, I get closer and closer to the proper energy. I'm not doing the drawing, I am being the drawing. Here is another list of adjectives. Pick one you'd like to draw. As before, close your eyes until you get an impression of what that feels like. Then open your eyes, pick a color, and begin to draw that feeling. You will find that some emotions may be easier to draw than others. The emotion of joy has dynamic energy about it, but a word such as elusive is subtle. In this case, I begin to draw strokes and soft colors rather than lines. Don't just limit yourself to the words I suggest here. Feel free to experiment with many feelings and adjectives to get a feel for how different each drawing can be. How different the strokes and colors are when the subject is based on what you are feeling. The secret is that I have learned to make a commitment to what I am drawing. If I have a doubt about whether I am able to express what I feel, I won't be able to draw with the proper energy. It is like a singer who is singing with power and emotion, but if she starts thinking about the performance of her singing, she will be singing, but her voice no longer has the support of her full emotion, and therefore it may fall flat, because it can't sustain the power to convey the emotion. Okay, so now that you've become more sensitive and focused on what it's like to draw elusive things like music and feelings, you're more in tune with where you could be to draw the energy of horses. We'll start with the meditation I've developed of becoming a horse in your imagination. Then you'll be able to take that energy and draw what you see in horses as well as what you feel. This meditation can help you know in your mind, body, and spirit what it feels like to be connected with horse energy, and then you can always carry that with you as you're drawing horses. So find a comfortable chair to sit in and sit down. Let your feet rest on the floor and your arms rest comfortably by your sides. Take a deep breath, and as you breathe, close your eyes. Drop your awareness into your body. Feel your face relax. Relax the tension in your jaw. Relax your forehead and the top of your head. And feel yourself open to curiosity and possibilities. Relax your neck and shoulders as you breathe deeply and easily. Feel this relaxation moving down your arms, torso, and legs, all the way down to your feet. Imagine sending your energy from your lower belly into the center of the earth, grounding yourself. Now feel your arms and legs grow into long horse legs that touch the ground. Your hands and feet become hooves. You can feel the vibrations of the earth through the bottoms of your hooves. Feel your face changing, your forehead and jaw becoming broad and strong, your nose and mouth becoming longer. Breathe through large nostrils up through your long nose. You have a strong sense of smell. You can smell the grass. You can smell the rain. You can smell other horses approaching. Your eyes are on either side of your head. You can see in front of you and behind you and both sides all at once. Your ears are on top of your head. You can turn them any direction. You can hear all around you. You hear the other horses in the distance. Your hair is on the back of your neck. Feel your mane blowing in the wind. You have a tail that expresses your emotions. You can flick it powerfully like a whip, or you can raise it like a flag of joy. You feel the storm move through you like electricity, igniting your spirit to want to run with the wind. You toss your head and snort and paw the ground. You can see the other horses. They are your herd. You can feel their emotions and you know what they are feeling even if you can't see them. They are coming toward you from all directions. Join the herd. Run with the wind. You are connected with the other horses. You are a sea of horses moving together, racing the storm. Feel the joy of running with the wind in perfect balance and freedom. Now the rain comes. You slow to a trot, then to a walk, and stop and stand still. Breathe deeply. Feel the strength in your legs and shoulders and neck. Feel the freedom and wildness in you resolve to a warm contentment. Through your eyes, You perceive the elements of the place where you are standing. There are messages for you in the landscape, perhaps in the rocks, the earth, the patterns of the rain, or in the clouds. Nearby there's a pond. Walk over to it and gaze down into the pond and see a reflection of your horse self. What color are you? You can be any color of the rainbow. Remember this image, and as you do, touch your heels together so you will imprint that in your memory. Now it is time to return to your human self. Gradually come back to your own awareness. Feel your front legs become human arms and hands. Feel your back legs becoming human legs and feet. Feel your human shoulders, neck, and face. Feel yourself sitting in your chair again. Yet inside you there is a newly awakened presence of the horse, and that part will always be there, ready to access whenever you need it. This horse self is always with you, ready to remind you of freedom, connectedness, and inspiration. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Now that you've become a horse, I suggest you create a drawing of your horse self. This drawing can then always remind you of this experience. The drawings can be childlike or detailed. They can be of the horse you became or other elements that showed up in your meditation. You may find that this drawing has a style of its own. These are examples of 2 drawings that I created after this meditation. Now we're going to draw the images of horses from a DVD. For the purposes of this exercise, I will be sharing beautiful footage of horses in nature from my friend Carolyn Resnick's DVD, Waterhole Reflections. I highly recommend getting a copy of this DVD to stay attuned to horse energy. As you play the DVD, the first time through, watch it for at least 10 minutes, just to get the feeling of the pacing, the mood of the horses, and your favorite sections of the DVD. You can even write down the numbers of the sections that you like and go back to them. As you watch it, get in tune with the horse's nature. See them in their environment. Feel the harmony of their interactions. Remember to tap into the horse self you have awakened and become like the horses again. So this exercise is called Drawing Horse Energy. For this exercise, you'll need a sketch pad and your pastels, and the DVD. Put the DVD on, and as you watch it, watch the movements of the horses. Pick a movement of a horse that catches your eye, or feel the harmony of the entire herd and draw that feeling. Feel the feelings in your body as if you were the horses. This time you don't need to close your eyes. Just draw that feeling or movement of the horses as lines and strokes. Don't worry about making them look like horses yet. Just draw the lines and shapes of those feelings. Move quickly and pick another movement and draw those feelings and movements. You'll find as you go along that the horses are moving quickly, so don't worry about getting everything down. All you are doing at this point is taking a mental picture long enough to look down at your paper and draw that feeling or movement. Later, if you feel like you want to explore that feeling or movement further, you can go back on the DVD and watch it again and draw it again. You can put the DVD on slow motion and study the motion and feeling. The more you practice, the better skilled your hands will become at drawing what you see, because it is a feeling rather than a frozen image. Now I'll illustrate drawing horses from life. This is my beautiful thoroughbred mare Dharma grazing in our pasture. When drawing horses, let the lines and shapes flow. At first, what you are drawing may seem like only abstract lines, but your eyes and your hands are getting used to the essence and the form of the horse and how they move. The horse often moves quickly, even when they are at rest, so you may not have time to get down on your pad all you wanted to draw. Sometimes you just have to get an impression, and that is enough. It doesn't have to be the entire horse. I usually start with the face if possible, because then I have that down and I can extrapolate from there if the horse moves. Lines will begin to form the horse's long nose, ears, eyes, and nostrils. Lines of the neck and chest, back and hip. Legs are challenging, but remember you are drawing feelings, not anatomy. A sweep of a line can suggest a leg. My first horse drawings of this type were just elusive lines with no hooves or the accurate length of a leg, yet they conveyed horse. Then the most wonderful lines of all, the flowing movement of the horse's mane and tail, which adds movement, breath, and life to the horse's form. In time you will find your own techniques, and the lines will start to look more like horses as you learn to focus your attention while staying in the flow. I'd like to quote an author whose description conveys what I feel about drawing the essence of horses. I've adapted the quote as it refers to writing rather than drawing, but it is the same principle. The quote is by Willa Sibert Cather. Art, it seems to me, should simplify. That indeed is very nearly the whole of the higher artistic process, finding what conventions of form and what detail one can do without, and yet preserve the spirit of the whole, so that all that one has suppressed and cut away is there to the viewer's consciousness as much as if it were drawn on the page. When I draw horses, I am the conduit for the feeling of the horse. I try to become the horse, and I draw what that feels like. In watching horses or looking at photographs of horses, I allow myself to become the horse, and I shift from a place of words into a place of feeling, to translate the language of their movements into a line or stroke of color that expresses that feeling. Eventually, as you learn to define this type of drawing, you have the opportunity to draw horses or anything you desire from this feeling place, and you will find your own style and medium of drawing or painting. The other wonderful thing about drawing horses from life is you are spending quiet time with them, admiring them, becoming in tune with them, and making no demands. You may have to protect your sketch pad, however, as you'll find they are often curious about what you are doing. Now that we've drawn horse energy in motion, you get a feel for what that feels like to be a horse again. Now we're going to take that energy and move it into a still photograph. So looking at a photograph and drawing from that, but still maintaining the feeling that you felt when you were watching the DVD. And just like before, you'll want to look at the image and then look down at your paper, just capturing a photo in your mind and moving it down into the paper. And don't worry if it doesn't look like a horse yet. Looking at this photograph, I focused on the shape of Dharma's neck and the interesting placement of her front legs. Just such an unusual pose she is in as she trots toward me. I was drawn to creating movement in the flow of her mane and the turn of her head away from me, though her body is moving forward. Remember to choose a photograph that really inspires you, because you're going to be generating your own feelings and emotions from this still image. This photograph is of my mare Dharma. She's my first horse and my greatest inspiration. I chose this photo of my mare Meadow because it's a total contrast to the other image, because she's so peaceful looking over her shoulder and in complete stillness. I picked the color green for Meadow because it feels natural for her. She's a being of nature, and it seems to convey that she's connected to the earth. I love the shape of her long neck and how it is curved around. There seems to be a whimsical tone to her eye, like she's answering a question. I complete the impression of movement by adding some lines for the forelock. When I discovered pastel chalk was after I had started doing the drawings in my sketchbooks, and then I was trying to find the same way of expressing those same lines in a very spontaneous medium, but something that was also in color. And when I discovered pastel chalks, they were the perfect medium for me to use for that spontaneous energy that I felt in the horse. They also remind me of cave paintings because they're a natural pigment from the earth, and that way we can connect to earth and horses. When you have created some sketches you like, you can then trace the sketches and transfer them onto a new piece of pastel paper using graphite paper. Then you can use the techniques I taught in drawing to music and drawing emotions, and start to play with color and make the sketch a more complex and colorful work of art. Shown here are some examples of pastel drawings that I created as I transitioned into creating more realistic drawings of the horse's form and expressions. I hope you can see that the earlier works I created of the essence of the horse influenced these works as well. They have emotion, movement, and life. As you begin to create a style of your own, I invite you to explore playing with different mediums, including pastel, to find your own creative voice in drawing horses. Another important lesson I'd like to impart is to never throw out your drawings. I made this mistake too often when I grew frustrated with not being able to draw the way I wanted to. Later, I realized that the drawings I did at one time were able to be the template for a more refined work of art when my skill had improved. What you create is always fuel for more inspiration and should never be taken for granted. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed our time together as much as I have. In Level 2, we'll be exploring taking the horse energy that we've been drawing and drawing it in horses' forms and expressions. I want to thank Davina and Elka for being with me today. They really illustrated my techniques beautifully. My gratitude also goes out to all the teachers and fans who've helped me in my art throughout the years, and all the horses who've inspired me. I look forward to our next class together. We'll see you again soon. When I first started taking art lessons as a child, the first thing the teacher did was to set up a still life. I can't think of anything less inspiring to draw than bananas and wine bottles. But that's the way that most art is taught. Okay?
Right, let's do
I
that.
paused there, yeah.
Let's do that whole section
Okay.
again. Bananas and apples.
Bananas and apples
Yeah.
instead of wine bottles.
Yeah, there's no wine bottles on there.
Oh!
I did, but I thought she did it on purpose.
I forgot.
I'm sorry, did you eat
Well, and it was in my script, so what does it say? I'm following. Okay.
She's trying to back away without making a foresty. And trying so hard.
Oh yeah, we have to wait until she's gone before we because the floor might creak, remember?
She doesn't have time to get away.
the whole thing's gonna blow up. Gotta light the fuse and get out of the way before it's too late. Action.
When I first started taking art lessons as a child, the first thing the teacher did was set up a still life for me to draw. I can't think of anything less inspiring to draw than apples and oranges. Are there apples and oranges? Okay. Okay. Bananas and apples. You think I could get this right? Okay. Of course, anatomy, proportions, and perspective.
It's a drunk horse. Let's have it one more time.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
I'll hang on to him next time. Maybe I'll just do this. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
He fell over slowly. So
Yeah.
hang on, we've got some noise creeping in here.
They're opening chocolate.
Don't mind us munching chocolates.
That's what I can see.
It's dark as well.
Here you are.
Okay. Horse anatomy. Oop, microphone just fell off.
Okay, you don't read it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And you guys illustrated a really great point actually, which was to not just only do the quick expression, but just keep going and let it flow.
That was great, but
I chose this photo of my mare smiling back there.
Right.
Okay.
Boom.
Oh!
I did, but I thought she did it on purpose.
I forgot.